how when Mike made that, he ended it with Cap. Morning or afternoon? No, it's definitely afternoon. It's afternoon everywhere. Happy Marvel Wednesday.
Yeah, this is our Halloween episode, as is evident by my bats behind me.
Oh yeah. I don't know. Halloween's weird this year.
Oh yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, I grabbed these a few seconds before we started, so.
Oh, well, that's more than I did. I'm still now. So, want to get started talking about some comics?
Yeah, we did a lot of new comics today. Starting off, I guess, with the next step in Ten of Swords.
Ta-da!
Yeah, so Ten of Swords, Stasis #1. It feels like there's been so much buildup to the actual Ten of Swords. I'm wondering if Ten of Swords itself will actually be a lot shorter than the lead-in to it at this point.
So I kind of feel like Stasis was a good title because nothing happened. Now there is a reveal at the end, but I almost kind of figured that was happening anyway.
Yeah.
Like I kind of just figured that was coming, so it wasn't really a oh my gosh moment. I kind of figured that now that we had all the 10 swords, we were going to be going into battle mode. But They spend the first part talking about how the other guys get their swords. Then they go to the gateway and they get little like tarot cards on their pillows. And that's about it.
Yeah, I will say I did enjoy. If this is the last step before we actually get into everything, then this was great because this is like the perfect introduction for everything. I liked meeting each individual, or at least most of the individual sword bearers of Araco. I thought that was entertaining, and then like you said, the tarot cards from Saturnine messing with the champions of Krakoa was pretty cool as well. And then interesting reveal at the end because I'm with you. I totally like expected that. I kind of thought for a second I was like, didn't we already know this? But at least maybe Apocalypse didn't. But yeah, so I did like this. I liked this issue probably more than a lot of the other lead-ins to Ten of Swords, if I'm being honest. But like you said, not much happened, and this should be the end of the build-up to the actual fight.
Yeah, I like the issue reading it, but what I thought the issue was and what it ended up being were not the same thing. So I ended up a little disappointed just in that I kind of expected the battle to start and nowhere seems to close to that. You know, we're now in we haven't gotten to the weigh-in in boxing parlance. So I don't know. As I do like how Ten of Swords holds your hand and kind of gets you chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And this is the one title that was released this week. But I just kind of felt because of that, all the energy getting dived into it, I kind of figured this would be more landmark than it was. But that might just be my expectations and not, what they envisioned for it.
Yeah, it's funny that you compared it to boxing too. The entire time I was reading this, I was thinking of the Hunger Games and how half of the movie is the build up to the actual games. So hopefully, we get the Hunger Games in the next issue.
So on a much more small scale, we got Black Widow, Widow's Sting #1. This was obviously designed to tie into the movie that is off delayed. Written by the sort of famed Marvel editor, Ralph Macchio, not to be confused with the Karate Kid. And, it's just one of those sort of friendly, you saw the movie, now here's a quick little one shot, which is just, you don't get in main comic books anymore. There's no one and done issues.
Right.
So, what do you think?
Yeah, this is what it was, story you're looking forward to. It wasn't, and it wasn't a big start to another story. It was like you said, self-contained one-shot issue. I felt like it was sort of in the voice of those the 90s cartoons where it was just very much this is what I'm going to do now. And then they do that thing. And I was kind of all right, well, we don't need that much, explanation as to what's going on. Which it's fine because these sort of one shots, like you said, it ties into the movie and it's a good way to introduce new fans to comic books. But for us, we ones who read new comics every Wednesday, not going to be the most popular choice.
Yeah, it's a great like gift comic. Like if you have a friend who's like, oh, I just love the Black Widow, and like, oh, here, and kind of get them into comics, because you don't need to know a lot about continuity, or it's not like Ten of Swords where there's different parallel universes. I mean, that's what I think is sometimes off-putting for comics, is that there's just too much going on, and like you as a new reader, like you don't know where to start, you don't know what numbers mean. I mean, that's why they constantly renumber, right? And something like this is a great gateway comic. It's not going to be, as you said, a Wednesday Warriors like hot pick, but for like a stocking stuffer kind of thing for like a young new Marvel fan, it's not particularly adult. There's nothing offensive in it. It's a great sort of, you want to get them into this kind of storytelling. It's a great sort of one and done, nice little gateway into the medium itself.
Yeah, definitely. And it's still, Black Widow comics are always fun, always have that Black Widow brand of action in them. So, I mean, it's still an entertaining read. I just prefer her not to explain that she's going to use a specific aerosol type that's going to reveal the lasers in front of her before, she actually does it.
Yeah. It's definitely got a sort of a hand-holding
right
vibe to it. But this one, also tying into a movie that they thought would be released fairly soon, but not so much. Shang-Chi #2, continuing we read Shang-Chi #1, I'm guessing about a month ago, and continues the story with his long-lost sister.
Yeah, I like this one. I mentioned in the last when we talked about Shang-Chi #1, the character is just, fantastic. He's so likable. It's, whether you've read a bunch of Shang-Chi comics before, or you've never heard of the character, he's going to be one of your favorite characters as soon as you pick it up. Like you're going to be on his side. And I like this sort of dynamic with his sister, and they go into the history as to why he thought she was dead all these years. And is she going to be, welcoming him with open arms, or is she going to be a new enemy? As you can kind of tell on the cover there, it doesn't look like it's going to be a big, great family reunion. But yeah, this was fun. I'm excited to see where this goes. I'm not sure how menacing a villain she actually seems like, but I'm wondering if there's more behind the scenes, pulling her string. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it definitely seems to be playing into some sort of hidden, bigger picture, but it's nice that you have sort of an accessible way to get into that, as opposed to some other books we've read. This was actually my pick of the week.
Oh, wow.
It was between this and another comic, but I like the first half of this book so much, with just the sister, as the kids, and sort of the retro art style they used to bring that in, the reunion. Nothing here is surprising. Like, you kind of, it sort of was a week of, obviously this is where the story is going. There was I'll tell you what like my sort of runner-up was, and my runner-up kind of had the same problem, where it was like, I see where this is going, but now I just want to get there. But I like the first issue, but I think like now you're actually getting somewhere, and I like that. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the art. This was probably my favorite art from any of the issues this week. Maybe one other one. There were two really, really great ones. So I have some tough panels to pick from for my my picks of the week. But yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed this issue as well.
Moving on to Strange Academy #4.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about before we started about how we both struggled to make our pick of the week this week, and this was the one that gave me a hard time. I love Strange Academy right now. This might be, short of maybe Donny Cates' Venom, this might be my favorite ongoing series overall. And I really hope that we one day get to see this in some sort of animated series, or just a live action series, something like that, because it's so much fun. There's so many great characters, and now we're finally getting like this lurking villain for an actual conflict coming up, potentially, at least. I mean, I guess we don't really know for sure, but Yeah, I really like this issue. This cover is great too. The whole concept of this issue is they're playing door tag, which gave me Monsters Inc. vibes. I don't know if you thought of that too, but yeah, they're literally just running through doors that bring them to different dimensions, and I mean, it's just a great way to quickly explore the Marvel multiverse, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really fun issue.
Yeah, there was a great diversity in sort of setting and design that I thought was really good in this issue. I like this series a lot. It's probably the reason I didn't even consider this as a pick of the week. It's just like I feel like I'm always picking Strange Academy, and that kind of gets old. But and I think this title's momentum was kind of killed, unfortunately, with COVID. But I hope people. Scotty Young, just one of the great guys of comics, and I hope it finds an audience. If it hasn't, I don't know. I'm not following sales numbers or anything like that, but it's nice to have something that takes its time to establish what it is.
Yeah, this is one of those series that I could see, like if I hadn't been reading this and I saw it, a year from now on Marvel Unlimited, I would end up, reading the entire series in, a few hours, or however many issues this ends up going. But yeah, I just really love this series right now and can't wait to see more of it.
Okay, I don't have a cover for the next one, but we have Amazing Spider-Man number 51.
Yeah, and this one is my pick of the week. I just talked up how Strange Academy is my favorite series, and these last few Amazing Spider-Man issues have been so good too. This story with Kindred has been awesome. Can't wait to see where it goes. This was such a and I feel like I come back to this every time I read a really good Spider-Man series, but it's like the quintessential Spider-Man series, right? Or issue. It's all like the war is going on outside, but it's also within him, and it's all, he's putting the weight of the world on his shoulders and fighting with that responsibility, which is such a Spider-Man cliche buzzword. But yeah, it's just, I love that it always comes back down to Peter Parker and, what's going on inside his head.
Yeah, I loved this. This was my runner-up. Honestly, just didn't pick it because I picked it last time, for Amazing Spider-Man. And I'm excited about where I think this is going. The Doctor Strange reveals something that I think when you make the connection between what happened last issue and what happened a long time ago in Spider-Man mythos, that could impact his connection to the astral plane and sin and stuff. I don't want to give away my thoughts because I don't want people to either I'm right and that's a major spoiler, or I'm completely wrong and people will say, but I like where I think this is going, and I'm looking forward to seeing that play out over the next 4 or 5 issues.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit before about how the art in Shang-Chi was so great, and this was the other one that the art in this was just so good. Especially one specific, really, I think the last 3 or 4 pages felt so powerful. And even if we got a little bit of a tease a couple issues ago, it's still just to see it again and see, this was really Peter's introduction to it. So it felt like a really big, powerful moment. And one panel in particular felt like an homage to a classic Spider-Man story, which again, keep an eye out for panel picks on Friday, because we'll probably have some sort of tie in there. But yeah, I really like this issue. Kindred's such a great villain. I don't know if we really want to go into too much detail on Kindred going back a couple weeks, or was it last week? Whatever we read
2 weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Give people some more time to catch up on this series. But yeah, such a great villain, especially for this time of year. He's a very creepy, sort of demonic villain. So yeah, really, really enjoying this series.
Yeah, it's. I love Dan Slott's run, so I can't compare it. But when Dan Slott left, I was kind of worried about what Spider-Man was going to go, because there's been a lot of bad Spider-Man, and Nick Spencer's just been digging deep, finding great ways to bring it all together. Without Spider-Man's a character I think that can get a little unwieldy, especially with the Spider-Verse and Madam Web. Suddenly you're in these dimensions and Peter Parker is supposed to be, you know, sort of average. And when you make him have these stakes that are just kind of ridiculous and epic and cosmic, I don't always agree, but I feel like this time it's really playing out in a really balanced and beautiful way.
Yep, totally agree.
So we talked last week about how production is finally starting again. We're trying to get some news. So this man, also known as Poe Dameron, also known as Oscar Isaac, is announced as being in too soon. Moon Knight.
Yeah, so we got this news on Monday, and I was home by myself, and I literally just screamed out loud with excitement. And my neighbors probably think I'm pretty weird, but that's probably already the case anyway. So, yeah, this was awesome. I love this casting. I've been trying to think for years of who could potentially play Moon Knight, and for some reason, Oscar Isaac never even came into my mind, and it's so perfect. I love it. I cannot wait to see his version of Mark Spector, Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant.
Wait. I wonder. That's a character that has to be a series, like, because you can't fit that into a movie.
Oh no, yeah, definitely not. I'm curious to see, like, are we going to start off an episode and it's just a completely different version of him, and everybody's just gonna be like, what are we watching? Did we miss an episode? What happened? I can't wait to see what they do with this series.
So that's just getting underway, but Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings completed filming.
Yeah, Simu Liu shared on his Instagram that they have wrapped filming, which is exciting. It's just, the production stage right now is such a hectic. You're nervous about what can and cannot get finished. So nice to see that this phase of it is done, and we can hopefully get Shang-Chi sometime in the near future.
Yeah, it looks like July, right, is when the schedule. I mean, who knows what happens,
right.
But
yeah. But this feels like that first big hurdle to get past, so hopefully that holds true. And like we just talked about the comic, the character is so great. I can't wait to see him introduced to the MCU.
Speaking of filming, this man is back in Atlanta.
Tom Holland also shared on his Instagram that he landed in Atlanta. It felt like another one of those things where the studio was probably like, Tom, take that down. He always tends to share things a little bit too soon, but so they are working on Spider-Man 3, or the yet untitled Spider-Man, third Spider-Man film, whatever they end up going with. We know it's going to have home in the title in some way, just not sure how.
Yeah. Did anyone check to see if Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire is in Atlanta?
I have not seen. I did see that Zendaya also was in Atlanta now, but I have not heard about Andrew Garfield or Tobey Maguire. Hopefully that's the case. And actually, I would prefer to not know that, but there's no way they can, keep it under wraps until we see the movie. But that is best case scenario.
Yeah, so many questions. I always feel like there's so much cool stuff happening, or that we think is happening, that I don't want to bring up because I don't want to disappoint anybody, but So let's talk about t-shirts.
Yeah, Marvel, the Marvel Design Vault launching a new monthly t-shirt club. I mean, if you want a new Marvel t-shirt every month, which, I mean, who doesn't? So, yeah. So, I mean, you can't really go wrong here. If you're one of those people like me who's just like, all right, I want everything Marvel, I can't decide which one t-shirt to buy, this is the perfect, club for you to join. You just get a new Marvel t-shirt themed to that month. So there's going to be a Halloween theme for October, and you'll get a holiday theme in December. So pretty cool new option for Marvel nerds out there like us.
Yeah, it looks like the first one's going to be Green Goblin with Peter Parker and Miles Morales. So
yeah, can't go wrong.
Yeah. Speaking of merchandise, on Shop Disney, as well as at the parks, they've launched the Black Widow merchandise, including this dress, which is lovely. Not for me, but That's okay. And then this gorgeous jacket, also not for me, but still pretty cool.
The jacket is so awesome. I don't know if she would wear it, but I want to get it for my wife.
I know it's like, hey, woman in my life, do you want to be cool?
Yeah.
And then this backpack. There's probably more coming, but I think they kind of got tired of waiting for the movie to come out. So, yeah, it's really cool to see a movie like this. I mean, Captain Marvel, I think they kind of dipped their toes into the water of female driven merchandise, as opposed to merchandise that just happen to has a female on it. And it's great to see because there's plenty of female fans, and they deserve something that's not just generic or unisex. And kind of disappointing for a man, but we got plenty. But there are some unisex T-shirts on Shop Disney too, if you feel like you want to support the movie as well. Then speaking of merchandise, Marvel made collaboration between Marvel and Reed Pop revealed a Chris Claremont premiere bundle. It's called the Paragon Collection, which will feature Days of Future Past, a nice box,
Dark Phoenix
Saga. Obviously it's Claremont, so a whole lot of X-Men.
Right. Yeah. I mean, all the classic X-Men stories, all in one box with like some just amazing artwork, and the fact that it's signed by Chris Claremont as well. I mean, just really cool. A really awesome collector's piece for any Marvel Comics fans out there.
And while the X-Men of that era is not my favorite comic book, I got it just because I think it'd be so cool to have a series of books like this on your bookshelf that look, like real books. And just such a nice packaging, and such a bunch of classic stories from I would say it's the golden age of X-Men. Maybe not fair, but it's that sort of reboot that they did, kind of multiculturaling and bringing it a little bit more out of the school, and made the X-Men what they are. I mean, it obviously inspired the 90s cartoon, which sort of begot everything else after that.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think of X-Men stories, you think of Days of Future Past and the Dark Phoenix saga, right? Like that's all right here. So like it's like the biggest. I mean, you said it, the golden age of X-Men, really.
We want to talk about, we had the final episode of Spider-Man Maximum Venom. I almost said Maximum Carnage or something completely different. And I mean, you have the Zombies 2 cast here as Scream, Scorn, and another symbiote who I'm not remembering. But also at the end, it concludes with the creation of the Web Engineering Brigade, which Tony Stark is kind of mentoring, but then is being run by Spidey and his amazing friends, which is the setting of the Spider-Man attraction that someday in the next millennia will open at Disney California Adventure and eventually at Disneyland Paris. So it was cool to see a tie-in, and there's a comic coming out at the end of December tying into that as well. So kind of giving that, it's neat to see the show building on an animated series. I like the show. Last season was 6 1-hour episodes, so it was kind of sad to see it go. But especially now that Marvel's transitioning, it's sort of like this era of Marvel animation's ending, but we haven't quite gotten to the next one yet. So I look forward to seeing what comes next.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to binging that whole series because, I mean, you've been talking about it for a while now, and I love everything Spider-Man and Venom. So, yeah, I'm definitely going to check that out.
Yeah, it's coming to Disney Plus next month, so you can binge it commercial-free. Which is, I don't watch the whole show, but, they had some great, I would say, we talked about Dan Slott, very inspired by the Dan Slott run, Horizon Labs, and things like that. So I think it's a good run. Television animation is television animation, but they really spent time on focusing on making Peter Parker work, which makes everything else work.
Yeah, and then, I mean, so cool that it ties into Avengers Campus also. I mean, at this point, that feels like a forgotten, detail of like, what's going on in Marvel. But yeah, really cool that they are, sort of recharging interest in that. I can't wait. I can't wait for Avengers Campus. Whenever we do eventually get it, I need to see it. I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, me too. So, anything else you want to talk about?
Well, I do. I had a question regarding Ten of Swords, since we're now finally really getting into it, and it felt like they teased a lot of little details in this in Stasis. Who do you think, whether it sticks or not, who do you think dies in Ten of Swords?
That's a good question. I kind of feel like it has to be Apocalypse.
Yeah, I was thinking Apocalypse. That feels like it would be where the story would go. However, there's also, I feel like Betsy Braddock might be on the table as well. I'm not sure how impactful that would be, unless you're a really big fan of the Excalibur comics right now. But kind of seems like that might be something that happens as well. And again, it's a comic book character. Those things never really last for too long. But they are sort of, that's one of the big plot points of this, right? Is of like, if you die in this fight, you die. You're not coming back, or you're not coming back the same, at least. So I guess we'll have to see. But those would be my two picks if I was to.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to come back the same, I kind of want it to be Apocalypse, because Captain Britain has gone through all sorts of evolutions. I'd love to see, a different Apocalypse. Like, I just think that'd be interesting.
Yeah, another option I had too was Cypher, just because it seems like that would be sort of impactful because he is the voice of Krakoa.
Mhm.
And I think they could make that an interesting moment in the story. So we'll see. I'm not sure where this is going to go.
No, and that's what's nice, that we talked about some other comics where it's like it's fairly clear what they're going with this.
Right.
But I don't know where Ten of Swords is going to end. I mean, we're already at the point where they're soliciting the comics that take place after Ten of Swords, so we know a little bit of what's happening afterwards. But it's still kind of vague as to where the X-Men and Krakoa are going to be following all this.
Yeah, definitely excited to see what happens.
Yeah, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. There's so many comics. I mean, we started doing 3 comics a week, then we went to 4, and now we're at 5, which is about my limit. But there's so much going on. I mean, and we didn't even talk about King in Black.
Yeah, that's the one that I've been looking forward to for the longest now, and I am so ready for King in Black. That's going to be exciting.
So I'm trying to think if we got anything exciting coming up in the next week in Marvel-wise, but not really. I mean, next big Marvel project outside of comics is Marvel 616, the documentary series, which will debut on Disney Plus November 20th. We may get some more Marvel news, in the coming weeks about WandaVision, specifically a release date, presumably. So
2 months left, right? Like how do we not have a release date yet?
They're waiting. They're waiting for their moment. But in any case, we'll be back next week with more Ten of Swords, more Marvel, more Spider-Man. So talk to you later.
Yep. Bye.